Hey everyone, welcome back to Ridezone Bikes, the channel where we dive deep into the machines that get our hearts racing. Today we've got a very special ride lined up, the 2026 Yamaha YZF-R3. This bike has long been the entry point into Yamaha's R-Series family, carrying the DNA of its bigger brothers like the R6 and R1 but packaged in a way that's approachable, usable, and affordable for riders at different levels. For 2026, Yamaha has taken the formula that made the R3 a global favorite and sharpened it with more technology, refined styling, and the kind of updates that make it a serious contender against anything in the 300-400cc class. If you're someone considering your first sport bike, or maybe you're upgrading from a smaller commuter and want something that can handle both daily traffic and weekend canyon runs, stick around because this machine deserves your attention. The first thing that hits you is the design. Yamaha has leaned heavily into the R-Series styling cues, giving the 2026 R3 a front profile that almost mirrors the MotoGP-inspired YZF-R1. The fairings are sharper, the side panels more sculpted, and the tail section has that unmistakable sporty flair with a tapered finish that screams performance. You get full LED lighting throughout, from the aggressive projector-style headlamp flanked by angular LED position lights, to compact indicators and a neat, modern tail lamp. At night, this lighting setup doesn't just look cool, it also makes the bike more visible and practical. Sit on the bike and you're greeted with a new digital LCD cluster that's crisp and easy to read. It gives you everything from speed, RPM, gear position, and fuel economy to trip meters. Yamaha has also started integrating its Y-Connect smartphone system on select trims, which means you can pair your phone, check notifications, and even review ride data later. Add to that a convenient USB charging port near the cockpit, and suddenly this small sport bike feels way more in tune with today's connected rider. Ergonomics on the R3 continue to be that sweet balance between sporty and forgiving. The seat height is around 30.7 inches, which means most riders will have no trouble flat-footing or at least comfortably reaching the ground. The clip-ons and rear set pegs do give you a crouched, aggressive stance, but Yamaha has tuned the triangle so it doesn't punish you on longer rides. Weight comes in at about 373 pounds wet, which is light enough to feel flickable in traffic or on twisty backroads but still substantial enough that the bike feels planted at speed. The chassis is supported by a 37mm upside-down fork at the front and a monoshock at the rear with preload adjustability. Suspension travel is generous enough for daily roads but stiff enough to keep things controlled in sporty riding. Braking comes courtesy of a 298mm front disc and 220mm rear disc, both with ABS as standard, so safety and confidence are baked in. Yamaha equips the bike with 17-inch sport tires that provide predictable grip, further boosting the confidence of both new and experienced riders. Now let's talk about the heart of this bike, because the engine is what really makes the R3 special. Underneath that fairing sits a 321cc liquid-cooled, twin-cylinder engine with double overhead cams and 4 valves per cylinder. This configuration gives it a smooth, rev-happy nature that is both approachable and thrilling. Peak output hovers around 41 horsepower with roughly 29 Nm of torque. That might not sound earth-shattering if you're coming from leader bikes, but in the lightweight sport category, these numbers translate to lively performance. The bike loves to rev, with a strong surge kicking in past the mid-range, making highway overtakes or spirited canyon runs a lot of fun. Around the city, you'll find it tractable enough, though you'll want to keep the revs above 5,000 revolutions per minute to get the most punch. Yamaha has fitted the R3 with a 6-speed gearbox, and the inclusion of an assist and slipper clutch is a big plus. The lever action is light, reducing fatigue in traffic, and the slipper function keeps downshift smooth, preventing the rear wheel from hopping if you dump a gear too aggressively. Handling has always been one of the R3's strongest suits, and that tradition continues. The geometry is neutral and confidence-inspiring, making it an easy bike to learn on yet still rewarding for experienced riders who push it harder. The upside-down fork does a great job keeping the front end planted during cornering and braking, while the rear shock allows a bit of adjustability if you're carrying a passenger or just want to fine-tune your setup. Steering is light, almost playful, which means carving through city traffic or tackling a series of S-bends feels natural. Pair that with Yamaha's attention to mass centralization and weight distribution, and you get a machine that feels stable even when leaned over. Braking performance is solid for the class, plenty of stopping power with good feedback at the lever, and ABS working in the background as a safety net. Fuel economy is another highlight. With a tank capacity of about 3.7 gallons or 14 liters, and efficiency figures hovering around 56 miles per gallon in ideal conditions, you're looking at a practical range that makes the bike viable as a commuter. This means you can enjoy the sporty looks and performance while still keeping running costs in check, something that's particularly appealing to students, younger riders, or anyone who wants to keep ownership costs reasonable without sacrificing fun. Realistically, expect range to be around 200 to 230 miles per tank depending on how aggressive your riding style is. When it comes to price, Yamaha has positioned the R3 competitively. In the US, the 2025 model sat at around $5,499 MSRP, and the 2026 version is expected to hover in the same ballpark with maybe a slight increase depending on region. In markets like India, where import duties play a role, you're looking at a significantly higher ex-showroom price, in the ballpark of 3.6 lakh rupees. While this does put it above some locally built rivals, Yamaha banks on its global reputation, solid build quality, and the prestige of the R-Series badge to justify the premium. Against competitors like the Kawasaki Ninja 400 or the KTM RC 390, the R3 might not boast the most advanced electronics or outright power, but what it does offer is balance, reliability, and Yamaha's legendary refinement. And that brings us to what really sets the R3 apart. It's not a numbers monster, it's about the complete experience. The styling links it directly to Yamaha's bigger sport machines, which is a big selling point for younger riders who want that mini R1 vibe. The inclusion of the assist and slipper clutch makes everyday riding smoother and less intimidating. The smartphone connectivity through Yamaha's Y-Connect app adds a layer of modern functionality. And most importantly, the R3 doesn't compromise its friendliness. It's aggressive enough to thrill, yet forgiving enough that newer riders won't feel overwhelmed. It sits in that sweet spot that very few bikes manage to nail. Of course, no bike is perfect, and the R3 does have a few trade-offs. Riders looking for electronic rider aids like traction control, multiple riding modes, or a factory-fit quickshifter may feel a bit left out, especially since some rivals have started offering those. Low-end torque isn't abundant, so if you want a bike that pulls hard right off idle, you may prefer a single-cylinder competitor. Passenger comfort is limited by the sporty tail section, and in very hot climates, you'll feel the heat soak in stop-and-go traffic. Still, these downsides are relatively minor in the bigger picture and will only matter if those features are deal-breakers for you. So what's the verdict? The 2026 Yamaha YZF-R3 is a bike that continues to punch above its weight in terms of design, usability, and fun factor. It's one of the most approachable sport bikes you can buy, with the right mix of looks, performance, and practicality. If you're just getting into motorcycling and want a machine that will grow with you, this is an ideal starting point. If you're an experienced rider who wants a lightweight second bike that's easy to live with but still puts a smile on your face, the R3 is also a compelling choice. Yamaha has managed to refine the package without losing the core identity that made the R3 such a success. At the end of the day, this bike is all about balance, and in a world of extremes, sometimes that's exactly what makes a motorcycle great. Thanks for tuning into Ridezone Bikes. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 2026 Yamaha YZF-R3, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our upcoming reviews. Drop a comment below telling us what you think about the new R3, and whether it deserves a place in your garage. Until next time, ride safe and keep the rubber side down.